The pup has only just begun exploring outside the burrow. Then, an adult suddenly freezes. A warning call cuts across the colony. Every meerkat reacts. The young ones run. They may not understand exactly what is above them yet, but this is how survival begins. Not with strength, not with speed, with learning which warning means, get underground now. For the first few weeks of life, a meerkat pup knows very little of the world above ground. Its safest place is beneath it. A network of tunnels protects the young from the open landscape, from temperature extremes, and from predators searching outside. Then, at roughly 3 to 4 weeks old, pups begin appearing at the entrance. At first, they do not go far. The burrow is still only a few steps away. Adults and older helpers remain around them. But even this small journey changes everything. Underground, danger has to reach the pup through a narrow entrance. Above ground, danger can come from almost any direction. And the young meerkats are entering a world that the adults already know how to read. A head rises. A body becomes still. Eyes sweep across the horizon. Foraging meerkats regularly interrupt their search for food to check what is happening around them. At times, one individual takes up a more obvious sentinel position, often using a raised point to improve its view while others continue feeding. This becomes especially important when dependent pups begin accompanying the group. The pups are inexperienced. They are also busy. Everything outside the burrow is new. There are insects to investigate, loose soil to dig, older meerkats to follow. And while a pup is staring at the ground, something else may be staring at the pup. High above the southern Kalahari, large birds of prey can be a serious threat. Tawny eagles are among the predators recorded taking meerkats. From the ground, a bird at altitude may appear as little more than a moving shape. But the adults do not need to wait for it to come closer. Meerkats use different alarm calls in different predator situations, and the urgency of those calls can also change with the level of danger. When the group responds to an aerial threat, the transformation can be immediate. Foraging stops, heads come up, animals move toward shelter, and the youngest members follow. For a pup, the first lesson may be simple. When everyone disappears, disappear with them. The burrow entrance that seemed ordinary a moment ago suddenly becomes the most valuable place in the landscape. Then the danger passes. The group emerges, and remarkably, normal life resumes. There is food to find. The pups are hungry, and growing up cannot be postponed simply because the sky is dangerous. But the sky is only one direction. Later, the group spreads through the scrub again. Adults dig for insects and other small prey. Youngsters follow them, often begging for food while gradually beginning to investigate the ground themselves. Then posture changes again. This time, there may be nothing overhead. The danger is moving across the ground. Black-backed jackals are among the terrestrial predators meerkats have to watch for. A jackal does not need to be charging the colony to matter. Its presence alone can change the calculation. An experienced meerkat can watch its direction. It can maintain distance. And most importantly, it can keep track of the nearest shelter. For a small pup, that geography is still being learned. Which burrow entrance is closest? Which patch of cover can be reached quickly? How far is too far? There is an important difference between seeing danger and being prepared for it. The adults have spent years building that experience. The pups have had weeks, so they follow, they react. And each alarm gives them another chance to connect a sound, a movement, and a response. The lesson from above was to reach cover quickly. The lesson on the ground is slightly different. Know where that cover is before you need it. But not every dangerous animal in a meerkat's world should be escaped. Some of them are food. And this is where growing up becomes much more complicated. Meerkats eat a wide range of small animals. Among them are scorpions. For an experienced adult, a scorpion can be valuable prey. For an inexperienced pup, it is a difficult animal to handle. And unlike a buried insect, it comes with a weapon. Researchers studying wild meerkats found something remarkable in the way adults and helpers provision young pups. Very young pups were more likely to receive scorpions that had already been killed or disabled. As the pups became older and more capable, helpers increasingly gave them prey that was less thoroughly disabled. Eventually, the youngster had to deal with much more of the problem itself. This is not simply feeding. The behavior changes with the pup's age in a way that gives the youngster progressively more difficult opportunities to develop prey handling skills. Researchers have described it as teaching. At first, the pup can concentrate on the basic problem. How do you bite it? Where do you hold it? How do you stop it escaping? Later, the challenge becomes less forgiving. The scorpion moves. The pup hesitates. It adjusts its grip. Sometimes the prey escapes, and the young meerkat has to try again. Until now, danger has meant moving away. Now survival requires moving closer. That contrast is one of the strangest lessons of early meerkat life. A bird of prey is dangerous. A jackal is dangerous. A scorpion can also be dangerous. But one of those dangers is dinner. Knowing the difference is part of becoming independent. The pups do not learn all of this alone. Meerkats live in cooperative groups, and youngsters receive help from individuals other than their mother. They are provisioned with food. They travel with experienced group members. And when pups begin joining the group on foraging trips, helpers have been observed increasing some forms of vigilance and sentinel behavior. That does not make the adults perfect guardians. No one individual can watch every direction at once. But a pup is surrounded by animals that already understand many of the signals it is only beginning to learn. A movement in the sky, a distant predator, a warning call, a sudden retreat. Information moves through the group quickly, and with repetition, the pup's own behavior begins to change. At first, it may react because everyone else reacts. Later, its response becomes faster. It spends more time searching for food itself. It becomes less dependent on begging from older animals. Its world begins expanding beyond the burrow entrance. And that creates another problem. Confidence allows a young meerkat to find more food. It also allows it to wander farther from safety. A pup finds something beneath the soil. It digs. The others continue moving. For a few moments, its attention narrows to the small patch directly in front of it. The burrow is farther away now. The group is more spread out. Then comes another warning. Earlier in its life, the pup might have looked around while the adults were already moving. Now there is less hesitation. The food is abandoned. The head rises, and the youngster moves toward safety. Nothing needs to catch it for the lesson to matter. In fact, successful predator avoidance often looks uneventful. The predator is detected. The prey responds. Contact never happens. For the young meerkat, that is exactly the point. Survival is not winning a fight with an eagle. It is making sure the fight never begins. The same is true with a jackal. And even with dangerous prey, success often comes from recognizing the risk early enough to handle it correctly. As the weeks pass, the pups begin to look less like visitors outside the burrow. They dig more. They forage more. Their movements become more deliberate. They still depend on the group. They are still vulnerable, but they are no longer facing every danger for the first time. A warning from above now has meaning. Movement across the ground has meaning. A scorpion has meaning. Even the distance to the nearest burrow has meaning. A baby meerkat does not become independent in one dramatic moment. There is no single day when the desert suddenly becomes safe. Instead, independence is built from dozens of small lessons. When to look up, when to stop digging, when to run, where to hide, what can be eaten, and what can eat you. The burrow protected these pups when they knew almost nothing about the world outside. But it could not protect them forever. Eventually, every young meerkat has to step beyond the entrance. And the ones that survive are not the ones that stop encountering danger. They are the ones that gradually learn what to do when danger appears.